finally, a source of raw, real, and honest information on healthcare issues that matter most. Welcome to BS Free MD. From the latest medical information to how to stay sane as a doctor or a patient, no subject is taboo and no BS is allowed. Now, let's welcome your hosts, Doctors May and Tim Hindmarsh.
Alrighty, we are officially doing another Doctales with Cocktails episode this week. It has been a long time. I think we've missed all summer doing Doctales, but we still have been consuming cocktails now and then, although some of us a little bit less because of our macro accounting. But this week we have a really fun cocktail to feature, which we'll get to in a little bit. But before we give it away, we are doing a episode on doctors navigating healthcare. I'm sure you all have tons of fun navigating the system, and we're going to share some experiences that have made it utterly incredible for us. And so we share in your pain, because even as physicians, doctors inside the system, we know the pain of trying to get through some of this stuff. And oh boy, have we had some, especially me, some horrific experiences dealing with this. So let's dive in and share how horrible this has been. First off, I think we should touch on the medical record and how annoying that can be. Currently, I'm just going to say a family member is having to obtain some medical records for, say, employment purposes, and going back into the chart and acquiring charts from many years ago, like, gosh, would it be, how many, not 20, 15 years ago, let's guess. You open these things up and, you get into the My Chart system and surprise, open this up only to find that there's incorrect diagnoses in there. What to do. So I was having this discussion, or we were this weekend, with someone we met who has run into the same problem. So for instance, man, I would say, it would be 6 years ago. I had a hip replacement, and prior to that, I needed an MRI of my hip. I had MRI arthrogram as well. So proceed to get my MRI done. I go into the chart to look at the results, and I don't know that I might have heard the result from my surgeon right away, but it wasn't until later when I wanted to go back and look at it myself. Exactly, it was months later. I open up the chart note and I read MRI right hip, and the report was there. Well, I had an MRI of my left hip, not my right hip. So I'm like, well, this is really bad because they're making an erroneous report, because I haven't had one on my right hip, and someday I probably will. We need to fix this. So in the system, it does say for incorrect records, contact, medical records, yada, yada, yada. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go through this the right way. I'm not going to just call up this radiologist that I know, start blasting the department. I'm going to go through the hoops the correct way and call medical records, and explain the situation. I also had to write a note, which I did, to appeal it, sent that through. This was 6 years ago.
Well, time out, sister. You had to write an appeal for
Yes.
something that was put erroneously in the chart.
So what I did was I called them, and they said, okay, well, send us a letter. There's a form about what you think is wrong and why, and then we pass that along and look at it and we review it.
I think you're a dumbass, and you couldn't do your freaking job.
So I said, hey, like, this is me. I know which side it was on. So I wrote the letter and explained, yes, this was the wrong side. Can you have the radiologist call me or someone? So then time goes by, and it was I think it was weeks later, but I got a reply saying, okay, well, thanks, we'll pass this on, but we can't take it out of your chart. It stays in here. We will have to do an addendum somewhere along the way, and they'll revise it as much as they can. And I'm like, what? So of course I try to write back, like, what do you mean you can't take that out of my chart, or you can't just change the the top so that it says left hip MRI. You can't just do that. Oh no, we cannot do that. Once it's in the medical record and it's gone through billing and it's gone through the insurance company, it's a permanent fixture in there. So all that the radiologist can do, if they chooses to do so, is to put some addendum somewhere into, I don't know, the microsphere, never to be found.
And no one ever sees it. Like it literally, in an electronic medical record, I learned this a long time ago. It would be easier to add a face and change all the faces on Mount Rushmore to the Jackson 5 than it would be to change something in an electronic medical record. Like it puts chiseled in stone into an entirely new orbit. Like it really is completely insane.
Yeah. So
and I'm going to do a shout out to any potential healthcare providers that are listening. Be really careful what you put into charts. And I remember a long time ago when this must have been, well, it wasn't a long time ago. It was 5 or 6 years ago when they talked about how everyone was going to have 100% access to their chart notes. So any patient could have 100% access to their chart notes essentially the day they were done. They could just go into their chart, open their chart, and happily, read the chart. And at first I'm like, well, this is bad. No one's going to understand what we're saying because we use all this medical jargon, and we're going to use words like obese or, histrionic or whatever. And they're going to look it up, and, they're going to be all pissed off because, we're basically saying that somebody is crazy and fat, which, it's true sometimes. And now, kind of looking at it from the patient side, having gone through some of this ourselves, it's great. Transparency is really great. If you don't want to be called something, then change your life. And the other side of it is, it really puts some burden on the person seeing you as your physician or medical provider to actually put stuff in the chart that's accurate.
Right.
But there's
accurate, and not saying someone's crazy when you can put proper diagnosis such as
batshit crazy
bipolar disorder.
Sometimes that's the correct
narcissistic personality. You know what I mean? But when you have a totally incorrect diagnosis, wrong side of the body being imaged, then or as in family member, like total incorrect diagnosis, I think when doctors, what we said the other day is doctors get in a hurry or they're dictating at the end of the day. And there's some doctors who do all these charts at the end of the week and they can't remember Billy Bob from Barney. And they say, oh yeah, this person has, left ear infection when it was really right. Or this guy had asthma when he really was in there with pneumonia because he mixed the two people up. The wrong diagnosis gets in there.
Yeah, but the wrong diagnosis also gets in there because
they're not checking their charts.
Well, but it also gets in there because of the electronic medical record that forces you to put a diagnosis in the chart that matches the prescription that you want to write.
Yes.
Okay. So here's a case in point that's really terrible. Okay. And this happens all the time. And it has not happened to anyone we know personally, but we know people that this has happened to.
Your pet peeve diagnosis of the big A.
So what ends up happening is you get a 17-year-old or a 15-year-old in the office, and they have a cough. They have a cough because they have a virus. They have a self-limited viral illness that's going to get better, but they're kind of wheezy, but they don't have a diagnosis of asthma. So you want to give them an inhaler. But if you put reactive airways disease, which is kind of a nothing diagnosis, or bronchitis, or a cough, then the cough or the diagnosis and the prescription won't match. Ergo, the billing won't work, and the prescription won't be covered by your prescription benefit. Okay, so then we're seeing patients, 3-4 of them an hour. So we learn how the system works, and you just hit the diagnosis of asthma. Okay. Well, what have you done? You have now branded a teenager or a 12-year-old with the diagnosis of asthma. Well, who cares? They don't have asthma. Why does that matter? Well, let's just say, okay, and this happened to a friend of our son's. Let's just say that person wants to, serve in the military. and they have a 4-point through high school, and they are the greatest track athlete in the history of their high school, and they decide to go into the military, and they have a diagnosis of asthma, and they get through the preliminary whatever it is, and then they get kicked out because guess what, kids? You're not going to get to drive a tank if you have a diagnosis of asthma. Well,
Ever.
and you've been
Ever.
branded.
Yeah.
I mean, we have heard stories of kids that this has happened to from a BS diagnosis because they went to an urgent care, 5 or 10 years prior to their military service. Then they go to a pulmonologist, have a pulmonary function test and a consult, and it's like, you do not have asthma.
But
and the military says, we don't give a what because it was in your chart from 12 years ago, and we can't prove that it's not going to come back.
Exactly.
So
and eczema is the other one. Someone
don't
comes in
get
with
eczema and go to the military.
with an itchy rash. You put that in there, you're toast. Even though it's like, I don't know what it is, but it could be eczema. So I'll just put it in there.
Yeah, you can. Eczema, this is a mind blower. Eczema for military service is an absolute 100% you can't serve. And the reason is if you have a true legitimate diagnosis of eczema, you can't get the smallpox vaccine. It is an absolute contraindication, which means no mas. And you have to be able to get the smallpox vaccine because smallpox is obviously a great bioweapon.
Yeah.
So
that, I mean, this little tidbit should be doctors giving advice to other healthcare providers in healthcare, what not to do.
Yes,
I would love to give a talk on that.
But people have the ability now, especially with electronic records, to get in their own chart. And unless you have a really good relationship with who you're seeing, if you're somebody that occasionally goes to the doctor or goes to an urgent care and you don't get a ton of healthcare, sign up for whatever it is, whether it's My Chart and Epic or whatever, and read your notes and get them scrubbed.
Yes. Well, so finishing up that point of trying to get that scrubbed, a lot of things you can't get scrubbed. All they can do, in my case, so I still have had an MRI of the wrong hip it's in my chart, and they couldn't change it. All they could do is put a little addendum. Please note this was MRI of right hip at the bottom as a side note.
Of course, I never get the improper diagnosis of toxic mega penis. That never happens. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
I wonder if that one's in the ICD-10. Maybe it'll be in the ICD-20. After all these transgender surgery, maybe somebody will have a toxic mega penis.
You never know.
You never know. Okay.
So own, just like you would own your healthcare with diet and exercise and not drinking too much and taking your blood pressure medicine and all of these other things, own the record because you never know when that is going to mean something.
Yeah, it's your medical record, and
nitpicking that is powerful. I mean, it really is. It's a powerful thing to be able to kind of
right. And all this sharing now of information by health systems and transferring, we pull that in. I mean, it's easy to pull that information in instead of asking the patient, saying, okay, did you have this surgery and which side, yada, yada, just so.
And the other thing is when you go in and they ask you about medications, that medication reconciliation part of an office visit that seems redundant and dumb is really important because we can backfeed most of what's gone on diagnostically with you if we know what pills you're taking. So that's a critical piece. If you have elderly family members and you go in with them, bring the bag of pills. It is one of the best things you can do for good healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about what we're drinking or what I'm drinking or what I drank for the last week? And then because I'll need a drink for you to explain your last big encounter.
The last big encounter is coming. But wait, one other little short tidbit. This is number 2 of 3 is, there's not, I would say it's a frustration that we share with everybody. I don't know if we can offer any solutions to this. Maybe you can, being in the corporate world that you had been in. The bill that comes in to you from hospital systems, etc. This has happened to us over the years. Man, I'm trying to remember the last time after I had that major surgery with my hip. I think that was one of them. But another time, I'm being in hospital. I think even when you were in there with your ruptured appendix, you would get the bill from the hospital. It's like, please pay X. You know, pick your number: 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, or more. Whatever you get. But it just says it'll have usually a doctor's name on that sees you, has seen you, especially through the ER. If you had imaging, it'll have a X-ray, not X-ray, the imaging physician, the radiologist that reads it, supplies and services, but that's it. So you have no way to dispute this dollar amount for your hospital stay or this massive procedure that costs thousands of dollars. And you're like, well, how do I know this is right? And like, I have a copay, which is a big percentage of that. So I think, if I'm recalling correctly, we got ours and then they had to adjust it because of insurance. And then it came back and had a different amount. And I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, I don't even know what the bill, was it Tylenol that cost, $50? Was it toilet paper? Was it the nursing? Was it the IV? Was it what costs what? Because it was so confusing. I mean, can you imagine someone working on your house and building it, and they just like, well, here's a lump sum bill for $150,000. Just pay it, and we don't have to tell you.
Yeah. Well, so what happened was I took our bill to the CFO of the organization that we used to work for that insured us. And I said, explain to me what this is. Tell me what the itemized statement is. I want to know everything. I want to know. Yeah.
So we called in.
I sat down with him face to face.
Yeah, I first called billing and said, is there an itemized statement? And they said, that is the itemized statement.
I said, okay, show me.
There's no items on here other than a grand total.
Show me where it's like, okay, you use this amount of, IV fluid. You use this amount of drug. You use whatever. And they said, well, he just looked at me and he goes, this is the standard in the industry. There's no such thing as itemized statements. And I'm like, oh, okay. So let me get this straight. So I can go literally 5 miles from my house to a good friend of mine that is a mechanic who I totally trust. And he could do hell he wants. And I'd go, yeah, that seems fair because I know this guy. But what do I get? I get an itemized statement. I get spark plugs, $50. Oil change, whatever. Oil, X, Y, Z. It's all itemized. It's all there. This is what, then there's the labor cost,
the hourly rate,
and and not just the labor cost times the hourly rate. This is and everything's there. And I said, so for the love of God, I would never pay a mechanic's bill if it was just a number. And he goes, no, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is in healthcare. And I'm like, well, why isn't everyone as pissed off as me? Because that's completely insane. If you ever want to get a handle on costs. And again, this is part of the problem with third party payment or insurance, which is you don't see the cost. So you don't give a flying, what about what it costs because someone else is paying for it. Well, that's not an opening for corruption at all, is it?
No, not. I mean,
that's not an opening for bill padding. And there's an example of this. It's fascinating. So love them, not love them, whatever. Trump started a thing. He signed an executive order, would have been about 3 or 4 years ago now, for what's called price transparency in healthcare. And what he said is, you have to write down like what stuff actually costs, not just give a bill. And you have to write this stuff out. So I heard a commentator talking about this, the guy who's a surgeon and he's big into healthcare reform. And he said, in the in the Harvard medical system, the Harvard Medical School medical system, they have a couple hospitals. One is Brigham and Women's Hospital, and the other one is Mass General. Okay, so super elite. You can get a baby delivered at Mass General for I think when he was quoting this, which is about 4 or 5 years ago, for it was like 10 or 12 grand. If you went to Brigham and Women's, it was I think 60 or 70. Okay, not only was that not price transparent, that was the same healthcare system billing that. That was the same business entity. I mean, that was literally the same as if you went to McDonald's in the town we live in, and you drove 18 miles to the next town and went to the same McDonald's. A Big Mac was $1.50 in the one place, and it was $50 in the next. Okay, that goes on all the time.
Well,
and the reason it does is because they get the contract they can get for each facility for each insurance company. And the more they can get, the more they'll try to get as much as possible. And the excuse from hospital systems is, well, yeah, but we got to make our money where we can make our money because we're getting our asses kicked in the ER or in indigent care or whatever the case may be. Well, okay, that's fine. But you can't possibly do the same freaking procedure 10 miles away from each other in the same healthcare system and have one cost 5 times more.
No. And as
by the
some
way,
people...
that was put into law and Biden overturned it.
Beautiful. But as some people, have commented, so it can, for my hip, I think it was 35,000. I know other people have been charged 50,000. Then there's 40,000. But I mean, how do you even shop around to figure that? Why does it cost 5,000 more for I don't know, the IV solution?
Well, because it's not a market.
It's terrible.
See, that's the problem. It's not a market. Okay. I saw a billing explanation for a new Ford Bronco. Okay. And they wrote it out. They said the base price of the vehicle was, $30,000. The options were $17,000. The total cost was $47,000. And the dealer added $30,000 because no one can get them and they're a high demand item. So they sold it for $80,000.
But at least,
you're getting screwed.
They put it
right?
all on there. So you remember when you worked at a facility, and we had a lot of people coming in that were cash pay, and they would say, "Okay, well, if I come in, I've got this really bad abdominal pain. What's it going to cost me?" And so we could roughly have an idea what it would be for the doctor's visit because we know what those charge. What level if it was a 99213 214. But then they said, yeah, but what I have this abdominal pain. If I need an x-ray or if I need lab work, well, what's it going to cost? And the people at the reception desk and we had no idea to tell them what it would be cost if we had to do a urine with a culture and a CBC and to say, well, it could potentially cost this much. We had to ask for them to put together like a little sheet with some prices so that we could kind of quickly go, depending what we're doing, it could be between this range. But for a while, it was like all of us shrugging our shoulders. We had no clue because the information wasn't provided. So how can that be possible? Can you walk into a grocery store? Well, I'm hungry and I'm going to get some stuff from the deli. Like, what is it going to cost? Well, I don't know. You just get the cashier and then all of a sudden, surprise.
Price transparency is a massively important thing, and it needs to come back. And, we all in healthcare systems need to be held accountable for this. Like, this is completely
a lot of times you have no clue until you get your EOB explanation of benefits that arrives in the mail. And you're like, oh, holy shit. They charged that for that. And now I owe, my copay, my percentage, 20% of that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think there needs to be more done for that. So,
all right, let's talk
before I get onto my real big rant, I'm going to do a massive rant. Why don't you share the rant calming juice of the day?
So this is absolutely awesome stuff. Okay. And they are legitimately our sponsor of this episode.
And hold it up in the air so our people watching via video can see.
There you go. This is
what and who that is.
This is Blue Line American whiskey from Hideaway Distillery in Lebanon, Oregon. This is a very, very cool story, and it's very close to our hearts.
Are you going to let me have a sip of that while you're taste testing and telling?
So this is a distillery started by one sheriff that's still working in Linn County Sheriff in Oregon, and one of the former sheriffs, Tim Mueller, and one of his sergeants, David Lawler, and they are really cool guys. It is, even if you don't drink, it is worth a trip to their distillery to hang out and BS with them. I mean, I talked to them for probably 45 minutes a few days ago, and they're really cool guys, and they'll tour you around. They'll explain. They have 2 different whiskeys. They have this one Blue Line, which has been really popular, and then they have a Hideaway brand, which is all locally sourced, literally from oak trees from where Tim Mueller's family grew up. Like, absolutely cool stuff.
Okay, let me
It
taste
tastes
it while you're
great.
telling the story.
I'm not saying it's less filling. It tastes great. And I have to watch, or else I'll just pour it all over.
You can't talk and pour at the same time.
No, I can't.
Then it'll be Doctales wearing cocktails.
So, great stuff. They're working on getting their distribution to be able to ship it outside of the state, direct to consumer from the distillery, which is really hard to do because shipping liquor apparently from a distillery directly to the consumer is a very challenging thing. But just to give you an idea what these guys are like, I got my reading glasses on. And this is what it says on the back of the bottle. It kind of gives me chills. It says the Thin Blue Line. It represents valor, sacrifice, integrity, bravery, and oftentimes heartache. It represents dedicated men and women of all races who often give their lives to protect someone they've never met. It represents an unshakable band of honorable men and women who stand between good and evil. The owners of Hideaway Distillery have stood that line and are committed to those who have as well, both past and present. Blue Line whiskey. It tastes great. It's awesome. It's a great brand made by great people.
And do you know how much it is for a bottle? By any chance?
I think these are around $30 for a
And
fifth.
where can people buy them? Do they have to go there to purchase it, or are they in local?
No, they're in most in the state of Oregon. They're in most liquor stores.
Okay.
Because that is easy. If you make it in the state, it's pretty easy to get the distributorship because Oregon is a state where it's 100% state controlled. So if you go into a liquor store in Oregon, the person that owns the store owns none of the liquor. All of that is owned by the state, and they are essentially a retailer.
I'm about to taste this, although I'm sniffing it and my nose hairs are melting because it's pretty potent. And if you could see my face right now.
You don't like whiskey.
I'm doing the taste test, but man, I do not like whiskey. Although I think this is the 3rd time I've tasted this year because I'll take one for the team, but it's kind of starting to grow on me a little bit. That is really smooth.
Yes.
I'm just not big into the mossy.
You know, the only thing smoother than Blue Line whiskey are my brows.
I'm sorry. Mine too, because I got mine done.
Yeah, but yours are just naturally good. Mine are naturally Muppet. So it's good to get the Muppet.
Well,
we did have a question. Can you buy it here? Yes, you can. You are there. Yes, you can buy it at the distillery.
Okay.
Which is really cool. And if you're close to the distillery, I would 100% recommend going there. Hang out with them for a while. They'll show you how they make it, how, you know, where stuff gets blended, the little bottling plant they have. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Well, your face isn't grimacing like mine, but I must say
no, because I have magic lips. My lips make whiskey disappear.
Non-whiskey
like David Copperfield.
Drinker, that is really smooth. So if you like whiskey, you guys are gonna love that for sure. I don't think one sip is enough to calm me down once I get going on this next bit that, you know, we have. I'll cut it short, which means I'll be over it within the hour because it's this long of a story that I got to compress to Cole's notes in Canada, Spark Note version down here. Anyway.
They give samples to answer a question.
Oh, you're still on the whiskey. Maybe we should stay on that note because it's much more pleasant to talk about than trying to navigate.
Okay, talk about your thing. I think this was the phone call where I literally left the house. I drove I drove to Nova Scotia. I came back, and May was still on the same phone call.
Yeah, and that was the last time. I forget the
So
other two times.
Nova Scotia is north of Maine.
Yeah. The other two times, I think I spent 8 hours dealing with this problem this year. Finally, it only took me talking to probably people 8 to 15
So
times.
do the backstory. May,
Yeah.
can I fill in just a little backstory?
Go for it.
May has a pretty expensive medication that we've talked about on the podcast before. Emgality. It's made by Eli Lilly. We have no problem supporting what this big pharma company has done with this drug. It has completely changed May's life. It's great, but obviously you want insurance to cover it. We pay for insurance. We have very good insurance. And if you're going to pay in for that, we want this covered. So it's really important that our pharmacy and benefits are, kind of figured out. We've, had a couple different jobs in the last year. So our insurances have changed, from kind of being self-insured to the new insurance we have now that we're actually very pleased with, blah, blah, blah. So every time you change the insurance company, the pharmacy benefit manager, the PBM, changes. We've also done an episode on PBMs, which is if you want your head to really blow up when you hear about, not conspiracies, but, monopolies. That's a really crazy episode. So anyways, long story short, insurance changes.
Wait, so let me give a little backfill on that. So you're right. We earlier this year, we had coverage still from a previous employer under COBRA. Doesn't really matter because we were being covered. And let's see, I will say our insurance coverage changed March 1st. And I was in need of a refill of medication in, I don't know, end of March. And I had been going online and getting our prescriptions actually 2 ways at the local pharmacy here in town, which is actually kind of part of the story and kind of crazy too, as well as a mail order pharmacy, which was the CVS Caremark pharmacy. So our insurance changed in March and went to the local pharmacy, gave them my new health information to our new insurance, and proceeded to pick up some prescriptions, a couple things here and there, really low price, and then ordered online a refill of my medication. And one of them is, I don't even know if I should even say it because this is going online. It starts with an H. It's used for autoimmune disease, HCQ are the initials. And I'm going to just leave it at that.
I wish I could say it. I wish I could say it in Pig Latin because it would be awesome.
Well, it's like a quinine thing that doesn't come in a bottle. Anyway, I take it for autoimmune. I had that refilled online, and I had trouble logging in to the CVS Caremark pharmacy because it wouldn't accept my username and password while I'm trying to do this in March. So I spent in March, I don't know, an hour and a half chatting, doing with the bot, as well as then finally I had to call, and they called their help desk number. Probably I called, I get transferred to somebody else who can help me because I said I have trouble logging into their website. I'm like, I don't know why. The short answer was, well, you've got new insurance, so we need to make a new account for you. I'm like, well, why a new account? It's just the way it is. So you need to give us a new username, and that's a new email address. And I'm like, I have to get a new email address now to order medications from CVS Caremark? Yes. Like, this doesn't make sense. But we do have another email address. So I did that. It took forever. Then the next thing I know, I could get in, I could see all my prescriptions, and I order a refill, and it all looked great until May. We were about to go out of town, and I got a statement in the mail, and I took it with me as we were leaving across the country, and I opened the mail, and this statement is an EOB from the old health insurance that ended supposedly at the end of February. And I'm like, well, this is interesting. They must be really behind because it's May and they're sending me an EOB explanation of benefits. And lo and behold, there were listings for my expensive medication, which is $650 a month for that one. Some other inexpensive ones. And I knew right away that what these were for. And I'm like, but these got filled on this EOB in March, April, and May under the old health insurance. This is crazy.
Oh,
how can
so
that
why
be?
is the old health insurance paying for somebody that's not on it?
So why is the old health
because-
insurance paying for these medications? Why wasn't the pharmacy locally, but even CVS Caremark billing the right insurance? Because I gave everybody my new health card. And what's happening? So I got home and I did the smart thing. And first off is I called I can't remember. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I called. I know what I did when I was gone. I called the old health insurance and said, why are you paying for this? It's really nice that you did, but we haven't had insurance with you, nor have we paid any premiums since the end of February. Oh, did you decide to quit us? I said, well, we have other health insurance through a new employer. Yes, we haven't paid any premiums or for your health insurance. Is this normal? Oh yeah, well we're not allowed to like just cut you off, but so yes, we keep paying the bills and we'll figure it out eventually, and then we'll just cut you off later when we figure it out, and then send you a bill. Your pharmacy will get a bill actually because they're the one that paid, and then the pharmacy will then have to bill you. And I'm like, she's like, so do you want to officially state that you're ending your coverage? So I said, yes, please.
I thought the not sending you money was
Seriously.
the officially ending my coverage.
I guess. So
because
first
that
off,
would be what would happen in a rational world,
first
right?
off, I'm like, wow. So they're going to keep covering you because legally they can't just cut you off. So I guess you show up at the ER and then they find out, yeah, you weren't really covered and you get a bill. But I'm like, well, now I have to resolve.
I'm sorry though.
Now I have to get
to
this
stop
right.
that.
Now I have to get.
Like that is so unbelievably insane. They are paying for something for 2 months because you didn't call them and say, I'm officially stopping my coverage.
Yeah, I thought
that is literally like getting divorced and saying, well, we'll keep sleeping together because you haven't officially stopped the marriage. I'm like, well, I thought the divorce was the officially stopping the marriage.
I'm thinking,
like,
you
what?
hear all these stories about people, and never been us, forgetting to pay the power bill and the lights shut off.
No, they shut off in like one warning, and then they give you the ability to appeal in case you have like an oxygen concentrator and you're going to die, and then they shut your freaking lights off.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess if you forgot to pay your healthcare bill, there is a lot of grace because
there's grace till they figure it out, and then they're gonna back bill the living shit out of you with God knows what kind of fines and whatever.
So this is like a tenth of the way into this. So this is what happened then. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get stuck with this somehow unless I can rectify all these and get them switched over to the new health insurance. So I'm like, I don't know why I didn't get billed correctly. Everybody got my card, but stuff happens. So I called the local pharmacy, and talked to the pharmacist who we know very well. I'll leave it at that. And he understood what was going on. He said, oh yeah, for some reason, you might have brought your new card in, but someone has been billing when you come in the wrong one. So what I have to do is then I have to go in and change it. I have to bill it to your new insurance for those 3 months and create these 3 separate bills, back bill it. Let's see if it works. I wait on the phone for, with him for 40 minutes. He does each one. Each month it goes, he's like, April went through, May went, March went through, April went through, May went through. It's good. Now he goes, so I got that submitted and I'll get paid. And then I'll get, they'll ask me to reimburse the other old insurance, but you won't have to do it. I'm like, great. That was really nice of him. And that's service above and beyond what you would usually get in a bigger system.
But that is the service that he has always provided because he is a privately owned business and gives an absolute care about his
I know.
customers.
So I was like, wow, I can't believe this happened. And he's like, yeah, this is really bizarre, especially that they paid it. So that all got straightened. So on to...
You know what else got straightened? My brows. I'm sorry, like seriously, they're like a car wreck. Like you can't not look at them, you know? It's just like
they're beautiful.
But a car wreck in a good way, right? You know?
So I'm not going to look into your eyes anymore. I'm just
No,
going to look at your brows.
it's stunning.
And then I might fall into the wrinkle above it.
It's like these
beautiful.
women, it's like these women that dress with these provocative t-shirts or shirts or whatever, and you know, they have all this cleavage, and I always called it car wreck cleavage, and it's kind of like you can't not look. That's what my brows are.
Wow. Can I touch them?
Well, we are married.
Oh my gosh.
The pharmacy starts with the knee.
The pharmacy does start with the knee for those that are inquiring.
Scoring at home.
Which is where you should take your business because they're stellar there. All right. So,
but you can still take it anywhere else you want because we're not going to get in trouble for.
I said you could, if you could. Hey, we promote whiskey. Why can't we promote our friendly pharmacist?
Because we have medical licenses. That's why.
We don't have any conflict of interest to divulge.
I'm sorry,
Miss Dr.
You cannot direct prescriptions.
Good point.
That is a legal thing.
Good point. Okay.
I'm just telling you how it is.
Good point.
So
we'll scrap that part of the podcast.
No, we won't. I mean, you just have to be forthright and honest.
Yeah.
You can say what you do, but you can't because the potential for corruption in kickbacks would be massive if pharmacies could pay doctors to send them. That's why.
But they don't.
Right.
Well, not here.
But
yes.
You know, everyone in Congress can insider trade. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi. But that's not against the law.
No. So anyway, that got straightened out. And meanwhile, we got an email from the prior health insurance company from January and February that came through. This is important. On June 6th, and that sticks with me because of the next part. So June 6th, they said, you are officially out of our, we are not covering you. This is the legal notice that says you are done as of March 1st.
Well, that only took 4 months.
June 6th is when the letter arrived, just saying they had to send it officially, because then I needed a refill again of my HCQ, and it's coming into July. And I decided to log on again using this new username and password that I had to create with the second email to get into my account, but I can't. It doesn't work. I tried the initial one from the beginning of the year. I try everything, and there I am again. And this is the beginning of that morning. I'm like, well, what the heck? I got it refilled and sent to me in the end of March. And I can't even get into log in with these two things. So I tried the bot again, no luck. So I'm like, forget this. Because you know how those bots are? If you don't type in the question, it's like, we're having trouble. We're understanding your question. Could you please use different words? And anyway, I just finally phoned the number. Okay.
Because the bot's in China.
The first time I phoned the number, you pick from the menu. Okay, this is another story in itself. But you know what happens is they have none of the items on that menu that you want, because I'm having trouble logging in. Is that an option? No. It's like for tech support. So I hit tech support, and it's like for trouble with, well, that wasn't it. For this and this, no. So finally I'm like, representative. Next thing I know, I get someone.
Actually, how it's supposed to go is representative.
Well, I got there later, but the first time, hi, what are you having trouble with? This is tech support. And I said, logging into my account, I can't get on. Okay, what's your employee ID number? I'm like, employee ID number? Because, well, you're an employee, aren't you? That I only take care of employees. I'm like, no, I'm a customer. Oh, well, then he transferred me back to the initial punch button thing again, all over. So then I start again, and then this time I'm like, I'm just going to pick pharmacy. So I get to I get a pharmacist, and then I explain my situation that I can't log in. So she's doing her little thing, username and password, no. So I'm like, okay. When I even tried to enter my stuff online, I put my name and my birthday, and my part of my social and all my cred in there. And then it says, no history of you is found. I'm like, how can that be? I've been getting stuff from you guys for 2 years. I have an account. She's like, there's no record of you. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So she types in more stuff, and I give her my prescription number. And oh, yes, well, you don't have health insurance. I said, no, that's incorrect. I have health insurance. I have my card right in front of me. No, it says that your health insurance is like terminated. And I said, no, I have new health insurance. And I explained to her, I said, I went through this before, but someone had to walk me through with a new username and password with my new health insurance that I have my card in front of me. And they said they inputted the new health insurance in, which was the end of March, beginning of May. Well, no, it's been termed. But let's see if I can do something else. No, you're going to have to call. And I think I did speak with someone else. Anyway, you're going to have to speak with your health insurance, and they're going to have to call us to verify that you're active. I said, you're kidding me. I have to call my health insurance so they can call you back, the pharmacy, CVS, Caremark. I said, this is the health insurance I have. I told her the name of it when it started. I said, I just got this prescription filled last month by you with the same insurance. No, it's terminated. So then I call our health insurance.
Just hang on a sec.
Are you going to lose it? Are you going to do something crazy? Because, you're going to put on the helmet because your head's going to explode? I see. Well, can I continue while you're preparing your brain to not explode?
I'm putting the helmet on because my head's going to explode.
So I get the health insurance. Get this. And I tell them what's been going on and my frustration with all of this because I couldn't log in. And then the pharmacist says that my coverage is invalid. Well, that's not correct. You have health insurance. And I explain what's been going on, that I had trouble back in the end of March, beginning of April when I was covered. And then I explain where I'm getting it filled at the CVS Caremark online. And then they're telling me that they need them to call the health insurance, the CVS Caremark online so I can get my medicine. Oh, we never do that. Your coverage is good. We never talk to a pharmacist to tell them that it's good. You should be able to give them your number. I'm like, I know, but please. Well, you need to speak to our pharmacy department though. So then the health insurance
I'm
person
buckling up.
transfers me to the pharmacy department because on the health insurance card, there's the health insurance doctor side, I guess. And then there's the pharmacy benefit side. So then I explain this all over again, and I will just skip past that because it took a while. So the lady says, okay, I will do a, what's it called? A party line call, I'll dial. And then she's like, oh, I can't get through because it's asking me for your date of birth and social. And she's like, I'm going to just have to let you take care of it and I'll listen. So I get through and I have to start all over again with the prompts, pick 1 or 9 or 6 and wait and representative. And I get somebody and I explain again what's going on. And of course, the first things I'm explaining my frustration and how many times back and forth. And I'm trying to get a prescription and they keep telling me I have no health insurance and my new health card person is on the line. Oh, she goes, well, your account says inactive. So are they there? I said, yes. Meanwhile, Tim's waving at me across the kitchen, pointing to his phone because we got cut off. And the person is calling back, but on his phone saying, I'm sorry, somehow we got disconnected. So then I'm having to tell them, sorry, we got disconnected. It was just awful. So I don't have my representative there, but I'm like, please, we have active health insurance. It's not an issue. So this goes on. And she said, this doesn't make any sense. Give me a minute. And they hang up. And they don't hang up. They put you on hold while they talk to their supervisor. And then I have to put you through to somebody else in their pharmacy department. And oh my gosh, I think you had gone out. Yeah, you had gone for the run. I think you'd eaten breakfast. You'd come back. You'd taken a shower. And you're like, you're still on the line. And at this point, I'm ready to just start all over, call my doctor and go to my local pharmacy for this, honestly. But I'm so stubborn. I'm seeing this thing through because I got to figure it out because I'm thinking of me and I'm thinking of everybody else dealing with this. I'm a doctor. Why can't this make sense? So finally I get someone else And I almost bit her head off, and I'm frustrated and I'm yelling. And then I finally said, I'm very frustrated. I'm so upset that people keep telling me that I have no health insurance and no one will fill my prescription. And I keep getting not allowed to log in and look at my medicines. I'm not mad at you. I know it's not your fault, I say, but this is really terrible service. Like, what is the deal? So I'm going to fast forward through a lot of stuff. But after another half an hour between two more people, someone
So
comes
what are we
home.
at total time now?
I started this at like 9 a.m. that day, and it was 11:30, quarter to 12 before
it ended.
it ended.
And how did it end?
She says, this one person who needs an award. You're trying to fill a prescription on CVS Caremark using health insurance R. I'll say that. She said, you have no, I got this wrong because she said, you're going to have to call because we won't fill it. And I'm like, what? No, you need to talk to your health insurance and find out. She goes, this was filled under a different PBM such and such. I'm like, what PBM? I said, I don't know about anything about your PBM. All I know is I go to the pharmacy, I go online, I present my card, and you you filled this with the same thing back in May. Now you're going to have to find, this was another PBM. So I called back. That's what it was. Our health insurance. And then I got asked for, I had to get to the pharmacy department, and I got this new special pharmacist with our health insurance who said, you're trying to fill a prescription through CVS Caremark, but we don't contract with them. And I went, what?
That's why I'm wearing a helmet. So you spent 2.5 hours of your life.
I said,
when all they had to say is, we contract with a different pharmacy benefit manager than the one you have.
She said,
you changed your health insurance. You need to call your insurance company and talk to their PBM. Have a nice day. How long did that take? I don't know, 40 seconds. But because nobody has a freaking clue, because we live in a world, because we're floating in a sea of incompetence. And as we float around, we're like, oh, I'll just grab onto the iceberg like the end of Titanic. And no, it's not an iceberg I'm grabbing onto. It's a fucking turd.
I said, it's all messed up because back in March or April, someone filled this thing. Oh, lo and behold, how did that happen? It probably got on the other old wrong insurance. And I talked to someone already in your department and someone at the head of the insurance, and then in the pharmacy section. I talked to 2 different pharmacists over at CVS Caremark, as well as all these IT people, and nobody there knew or could figure out I was trying to get a prescription filled with a company that doesn't contract with them.
I would think that that's kind of basic info.
And so I'm like, well, it would be nice to know when you first get your health insurance that you just can't walk into any, well, I don't know about any pharmacy, but mail order pharmacies are not all the same. So I needed to be going through Express Scripts, and I had been trying CVS Caremark, but nobody that the 2 first people when I called my insurance, the one person in the pharmacy section, as well as the 2 pharmacists at CVS Caremark, and all the other people that I dealt with, there was like 4 or 5 of them, who could figure that out when I kept giving them my name and number and group number, my card.
So the bottom line for this is, you are incredibly stubborn, and I can say that with all the love in my heart because we've been married for 30 years. I would have been screaming and yelling and probably had the SWAT team at my house if I was on the phone dealing with this, but you are much more gracious than I am.
And you must ask why. So why am I so adamant about getting it from? Because the mail order pharmacy for a lot of prescriptions is about 1/3 of the cost of local pharmacies.
But the suicide attempts it takes to get it dealt with
at that point, I was like, there's no price to pay that's like low enough for the time and the Your gray hairs and the new hair color I'm gonna have to get because I was so frustrated and
No, but
it's ridiculous. So I'm thinking, okay, I understand PBMs, but I didn't even know that ours was going to be different.
well, here's the question.
And for people that, oh my gosh,
Here's
have
the
no
question.
clue.
Okay. So if you're an 85-year-old person living alone with no direct relatives that help you navigate the system, how would you navigate this? The answer is you wouldn't. And, I'll throw this question out for anyone that's listening. Does anybody know what a PBM is? Do you understand how much a PBM actually affects your life? I mean, we did an entire episode on it over a year ago, might have been 2 years ago now, on what PBMs are. I mean, PBMs affect your healthcare significantly, and virtually none of us know what they are. You couldn't name a single PBM. You don't even know what PBM stands for, because I didn't know what any of this stuff stood for until I had worked in the insurance company side of healthcare.
Yeah,
And I worked for almost 20 years in the insurance company side of healthcare, and this stuff is still damn near impossible for me to navigate. And I know more than 99% of doctors how this stuff works.
But what's stunning is that it's not on the card. It doesn't say on the card PBM is for mail orders this. It says none of that.
No, of course it doesn't. And the reason it doesn't is because the health insurance company is going to negotiate with whichever PBM they get a better deal with.
Right, but what I mean
so
is
it might be PBM X this year and PBM Y next year.
And how, as the patient with the insurance, am I supposed to know? I mean, you think that they would send a thing? It would be on. I couldn't even find it on their website. When you look through
so
covered services.
Let's do a little tiny rewind, and we're close to being done because we're already over an hour. But a PBM is a pharmacy benefit manager, and basically what they are is they're a retailing, no, they're a wholesaling house for that manages prescription drug benefits for insurance companies. Okay, and there's several in the United States. There's 20, 30, maybe 50, maybe 100, but it doesn't matter because I think it's 6 of them control 90% of the market. And CVS is one of them. Okay. So essentially, what controls all of the drug prices in the entire country is one golf cart, is 3 golf carts with 2 guys in each golf cart. That's what controls the entire. So a foursome and 2 other guys on a golf course having wonderful blue line whiskey can essentially talk about what drug prices are going to be for certain things.
Or I'll take this one, you take that one.
And so how it works is if you go,
sounds like a monopoly deal, when you're trading Park Place.
It sounds like if you're a drug cartel and you can do it legally, it really works awesome. So how it works is this. So PBM A might have super great prices on certain drugs. Okay, like their antidepressants might be the bargain basement, but they make it back in antibiotics. Their antibiotics are more expensive. Their antidepressants are less. Their anti-seizure drugs are, middle of the road, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if you negotiate as an insurance company with a PBM, you don't get to pick and choose. I get PBM A for certain drugs and PBM B for other drugs. Yeah. You get all of them.
It's a package deal.
It's a package deal. So you negotiate based on, your payer mix and the patients you have and how sick they are on what pharmacy benefit manager you're going to go with.
It's like that Halloween candy and then you don't like that one kind in the bag, but it comes with it.
Right. And then those prices are essentially fixed based on that contract. Okay. Because you can't legally, as a pharmacy or as an insurance company, go directly to a drug manufacturer and say,
can I buy some amoxicillin from you? And
or you could go to it like generics, or you could go to certain companies that have, you could potentially have a super elderly population that's on tons of chemotherapeutics, and you want to go to, Bristol Myers Squibb because they make more chemo drugs or whatever, and negotiate directly with them. You can't. You have to go through these cartels. I mean, I'm sorry, wholesalers that essentially can. I'm not saying they do this because I don't know. I don't know.
So we did.
But you have 6 CEOs that essentially control drug prices for 330 million people.
It's crazy. And we did so we did a show on this. I can't remember the episode last year with Lee. I'm gonna mess up his last name. Strandberg. Yeah, and he explains it as best as he could so that everyone can understand what's going on. So you can go back and listen to that. But anyway, the whole point of this episode was for us to share our frustrations trying to navigate it, knowing what we know. I can't imagine any like dealing with some of this crap.
There is a solution.
Yeah, direct patient care.
Yeah. If I was retired, which I hopefully will be soon.
You mean if you were about to start into primary care?
No, if I was going to start primary care again, I would do direct patient care. I wouldn't even think twice.
Right.
That would be 100% what I would do. I would tell all the insurance companies and all the regulators to take a hike. Direct patient care, you pay a fee, $75 or $100 a month. Mm-hmm. You have direct access to your doctor. They only take so many patients. It's awesome. It's true business. It is a producer of a service and a consumer of a service. And that's the way it goes.
But until then, until you decide to reignite your passion for primary care, we'll just drink away with Blue Line and drown our sorrows. So there you go.
So next week.
Well, next week, I don't think we should announce on next week because we're not sure of what's coming out in what order. So let's just say tune in next week. And
I can tell you what's going to happen next week.
Are you trying to drop some hints?
Next week, we will have, I can't even do this. We will have some potentially live from Sturgis.
I see where you're going.
Media posts. If everything works out and I get to Sturgis on the right time, I will be doing a live stream with Rick Dancer on his show from somewhere in Sturgis.
Yes.
God only knows where it will be.
There you go. So, and then it would be kind of fun if I figure out tech here, because usually Tim runs it, we could do either an Instagram or Facebook Live for the show next Wednesday.
Yes, from Sturgis.
Tuesday or Wednesday. When are you free? Do you have a date with Bunny the biker or something that I don't know about?
Okay, look, if I was going to start dating again, a Sturgis would not be high on the list of places I'd start. Let me just put it that way.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. So we'll put out a little note on social where to find us, when to find us, when Tim's going to be on Rick's show, and if we're going to be here. So thanks for listening this week, and we are not going to wait this long to do another Doctales with cocktails. That's for sure. Because next time I'm getting myself something good that's not mossy oaky. All right. See you next time. And 3, 2, 1. We are done recording the podcast. So everybody that's commented on here, I don't know, Andrea's been chatting with us, but we hadn't been completely engaging. Sorry for that, but that's why. We hope to do a bunch of these on a regular basis. We're going to talk about a bit more, but we missed doing live streams. We know that they were pretty well followed on Wednesday and or Thursday nights because it's the middle of the week. So I'm thinking
the problem is that
is a
with
good
a
time.
lot of our live streams, they'd get taken down.
Well, we are going to not use the bad words that get censored. And we are doing a lot of other topics now, throwing them in.
Like this one shouldn't get taken down because we didn't say anything about the C word or the H word or the I word.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be in good shape.
Right.
We're going to kind of pick and choose. We're probably
drinking. I like that. Drinking Card Bordeaux. That
Card Bordeaux. I love that.
I love that. Card Bordeaux. That is such a. Oh, I love that term. It's like really like hot, like a shishi, really fun, exotic word for Card Bordeaux. I'm gonna adopt that one. I think the last time I drank Card Bordeaux was when we went family golfing at Fiddler's, and it was.
Oh
it was
yeah,
required.
it's like, It's
Because-
drinking. Yeah, it's drinking the wine out of the sippy cup, basically, because it's a cardboard thing it's a sippy cup full of wine, which essentially
It might have been screw top Sutter, but it might have been.
no,
I think that was a
yeah.
Cardboardo. That's a great. I love
Yeah, but
it.
it's a sippy cup sized cardboard. Like literally, when you get to that point, just call your parents and say, "I give up." Like find me on a
sippy. It's true.
It is. It's a
Those
sippy
are,
cup. It's
yeah.
a wine sippy cup.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrew was saying about trying to help her elderly mother. I mean, I know I was trying to help my dad when he was here with some of this stuff too, navigating the EMR, but even some of the stuff with the specialist. That was a nightmare.
Well, and use the EMR to your advantage. I mean, honestly, I have turned to 100%, 180 degrees on that. I think the fact that our notes that we produce are 100% available to anybody on the EMR is fantastic. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's just accountability and transparency are very good things for a whole bunch of reasons. It's a pain in the rear at times. I get that, but it can't be anything but better than the alternative, because going back and looking through charts when you have to for certain reasons, and you go, this is Charles Dickens didn't write fiction this good.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, if you guys have any suggestions for the next Doctales, since we're talking Cardboard, Franzia, Chillable Red, that would be hilarious if we did a Cardboard episode.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
I'm just
we
thinking,
could do it like a keg stand. I'll just lay down and you just turn the little spigot on.
My dad had some of that stuff in his refrigerator for like 2 months, and it turned into alcoholic Freshie. Does anybody know what Freshie is down here?
They're not Canadians. It was Kool-Aid that gave you a bad headache, is what it was. It was so freaking sweet. Yeah. I mean,
it was.
If they would have served that at Jonestown, no one would have died because they would have not have choked it down. Oh, that was dark.
It was pretty gross. But that would be. I think I want to. Maybe I'll do a poll. See if I can find someone. We'll do a taste test on Cardboard. See what's the best. I'm not usually a fan of those, but
or we can get buzz bombs. Those little plastic. Holy moly!
We see those on the regular. On the side where we walk, because we live near the market. Someone goes in there and buys those things all the time and leaves the plastic on the side of the road. It's littering, drives me nuts. But I'm like, who drinks this crap? In like 30 feet from the store, it's gone.
Apparently,
anyway,
lots of people.
Well, remember to tune in to Rick Dancer's show as well, to check out Tim next week on Tuesday.
It's going to be the 9th. Whatever day that is, August the 9th. Hopefully I get to do it from the Full Throttle Saloon, the biggest biker bar in the entire world. Mm-hmm. But that will be determined based on what coverage is like. And it's going to be fun. We're going to shoot some vid in and around the area. For anyone that doesn't know what Sturgis is like, it is absolutely
hell on earth.
No, it is Disneyland for bikers. It is great. But it's not Disneyland. It's Disney World. It's like, okay, what are we going to do today? Are we going to go to Epcot? Are we going to go to MGM Studios? Are we going to go to, to the, what do they call that? Not Fantasy Island.
Well, don't be telling me that, because that would be a bad thing.
No, it's absolutely
Fantasy Island.
It's amazing.
That's what every wife wants to hear when her husband's to take off with a bunch of guys to a biker land. And the female clientele, there's kind of two extremes, let's just say. There's the working class and then the biking class. Is that about right?
Yeah, and then there's the bars that actually hire people that are dancers, which is a completely different paradigm from the people that can just sell tons of beer. No, it's quite a place. It's quite an experience.
Well, I'm letting him go dress up for his summer Halloween.
It's cosplay for middle-aged professionals. Exactly. Let's be honest, but whatever. It's all good.
All right. we'll post some stuff on Instagram and Facebook to remind you, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Makes it fun.
It's no secret that medicine is a bit, uptight. That's why Tim and I created BS Free MD, to mix things up a little and have fun in the process. Besides, we are having these exact same discussions all the time, so we thought we might as well invite everyone to the party. If you really like us, you can get plenty more and maybe see one of Tim's cool tattoos on our Instagram or Facebook pages at BS Free MD. See you next time.
But we try to keep BS Free MD as raw and real as possible. We can't be held responsible for any medical decisions or discussions had as a result of what you've heard on the show. We know, bummer. But the truth is, we really do care about your questions. So feel free to reach out to us by email at doc@bsfreemd.com.